Don't magnify. I'll send you a link to it.
Okay. Or you could.
We were supposed to be doing a dump, right? The brain dump.
Yes, that's what you're doing, right?
I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing the project thingy.
Right here. This is what you should be copying.
You got a process chart.
Yeah. So your brain dump is this chart. You should have a hard chart in your material.
I do.
So you're going to copy both sides. When you really get proficient at it, you should be able to do it all in 15 minutes. And you're going to also add this to your brain dump as well,
Okay.
eventually. I am going to add you to, there's an app called Marco Polo that I'd like you to add to your phone.
Downloaded the app. I just need to.
Oh, you have the Marco Polo app already?
Well, I downloaded last night when you mentioned it in the study group.
Oh, okay. Well, let me add you to the number I have for you. That's the number.
Yeah, the 504 thing.
Okay. I have a nephew. His name is D. Anthony. Same last name. All right, we're gonna put PMP behind your name.
Yeah. I'm gonna be PMP before the year.
Yes, you are.
I'm claiming it. I owe it to myself.
Yes. And the whole goal is to get it one and done, not just, wanting to do it. Because what happens, human nature, we get bored. And this is not the most exciting information.
Mag, do you know if they're still not really doing a lot of mathematics in the tests?
No, Elise just passed hers on last week. She had two.
Because she already had the Cap M, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. She said she only had two math questions.
Okay. Because they want me to pay for my tests.
They did you have to resubmit?
No. Nope.
Now you can take it from home.
Say it again.
Now you can take the test at home. You don't have to go to a test center.
I kind of like that. That relieves a lot of stress.
Now, did you get a time extension?
I didn't do any of that. Nope.
Get you a time extension. She had the time extension.
You know what? That you got to get it. You end up having to get a letter from your doctor, right? Okay, I'll be able to give one now. Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I tell people all the time, if you gotta go crazy for a day, just do it.
Yeah, because sometimes I have to switch hands because I keep getting my hands cramped. But Dr. Saul knows about it, so
Yeah, but even if that was the case, you can get a doctor to give you a note for anxiety.
right. Okay. I'll look into that before I schedule my test.
I'll send you the form. You just gotta get your doctor to fill it out.
Okay. Yeah, just send it to me and I'll give it to Dr. Saul.
And John, you can do that too. I always get
Yeah. Yeah, send it to me. I actually have a doctor's appointment with my primary care physician on the 28th, so I'm gonna try to make it all work.
Yeah, all I have to do is copy it, send it to Emery. He'll sign it.
the John. Hats off to you for going to your doctor's appointment. That just sounds so refreshing to hear a male say that.
I don't take my health, uh, to be totally honest and transparent. I just lost my mother to coronavirus in July, and
Oh my God.
I don't,
Sorry to hear that.
I never took anything, lightly. So I have a primary care physician I've been going to since I've been here in Atlanta, and just making it work. We have a real working relationship. I get checked from the head to the toe, the rooter to the tutor, every year to make sure I'm in a good space and place. And then when I'm not, he send me where I need to go to make it all work. So
Yeah.
I'm not one to like fear going to the doctor. I always want to be checked to make sure everything is operating properly.
Awesome.
That's great.
Awesome. That is, and I'm sorry to hear about your mom.
Yeah, that's like another reason why.
Does she have a pre-existing condition, or she just unexpectedly got it from somebody in your family?
Well, she had a stroke last year, and so she was pretty much wheelchair bound. And when coronavirus, somebody had to bring it to her. So when coronavirus hit, she stopped going to therapy. She was pretty much in the house. And so um, evidently somebody brought it to her because she wasn't going nowhere. So my nephew tested positive, my sister tested positive, and so we don't try to like pinpoint nobody because at the end of the day, what really happened is she, I guess because she had already had the stroke, she was always an independent woman. And she felt like, in my eyes, it seemed like she felt like if she going through this process, she would have to be more dependent on people. So what happened was it got to a point where she denied treatment, but at the same time she was deemed in her right state of mind. So we couldn't supersede her wishes because she was in her right state of mind. So the only thing she like when it was attacking certain elements of her body, the only thing she was willing to allow the doctors to do was give her certain breathing treatments. So she didn't want to get on the ventilator. So the breathing treatment before the ventilator is the BiPAP. She denied they needed to feed her because it was like she wasn't eating. So they wanted to put tubes in her nose and something in her neck, and she was like pretty much denying it. So they were doing like little things to determine whether if she was in the right mindset to make these judgment calls, and they deemed her in the right state of mind, so we couldn't supersede her wishes because she was in a space where she would take the blood pressure pills in ICU, but she wouldn't take the appetite enhancers, and
Uh,
they needed her to eat, and she didn't want to eat. So the doctor literally in Louisiana, because of COVID and how it hit,
yeah.
it hit differently there. So she pretty much occupied an ICU bed for 10 days. And ICU beds was few and hard to come by. So at the end of the day, by her being there for 10 days and denying the treatment, the doctor pretty much said it was like nothing he could do because she wasn't willing to move forward with the progressive treatment to attack COVID. So we had to sign her over to hospice. So the good thing that came out of it in her last days, we were able to see her because hospice was considered end of life care. Otherwise, we was actually able to spend the last 4 days of her life with her because they we had to sign her over the in-house. Like it was like weird because it was like hospice care, but it was in the same hospital. It was just like a wing of the hospital. And they tell you hospice is just to make her comfortable. But don't take it as hospice is the end. But it really was the end. But yeah. So it was a different take to COVID because it's like I feel like if she would have took the aggressive treatment that the doctors had planned for her, she probably could have still been there. But because she opted not to, and then it was beyond our control, that's how it all panned out, and there was really nothing we could do.
And they left it all up to her. There was nobody else like that had power of attorney that.
No, because nobody could say anything or do anything because they had their way of determining whether if she was still within our right state of mind. And we used to like Zoom. We was in ICU having Zoom calls, and we used to put like everybody we know who could motivate her or try to stimulate her to to let the doctors proceed with the treatment, and she would say no.
Wow, she was probably just ready to go.
Yeah, she was just ready to go. She seen and knew something that we didn't.
Hmm. How old was she?
66.
Oh, she was young.
Yeah.
No, mom.
That's pretty much why I'm in Oklahoma, because my mom had a stroke and we didn't. I went up there because I'm her power of attorney. So we had to make sure she doesn't have COVID, but my mom, because of the stroke, I don't think people understand the level of severity that a stroke has.
Yeah.
You
I can
can
relate.
you can't really see it outwardly, but you can see like my mom's not the same lady that she was.
I can relate.
Yeah, she's
I can
86 now, but mom was she like you were saying, Dejan, she's independent. And now she's like, I can't do anything. I don't know how to do this. I can't finish that sentence. I can't, what am I supposed to do? And things like that. So when I leave, my sister coming. So we go, it's enough of us to go back and forth to help. Now my mom's married, but he's in a worse situation than she's in because now he's in the home because he got stage 4 cancer. So it's a bunch of stuff going on, and but God's still good. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. As the moral to that story is, don't let anybody tell you that they're doing fine after a stroke. It's still some neurological and some physiological stuff that goes on that you won't know about until something happens. Because my mom's a child now. She wasn't like that before the stroke.
Wow. Well, that's some insight I did not know. So thank you all so much for sharing.
We're just a few of us on here we can share.
Yep. Well, one little happy family, right?
Yeah.
Hi, Michael. So, yeah.
Hi.
Michelle.
Lily, Michael, Michelle.
And Michael's about to test pretty soon. So
Congratulations. I know you'll do well.
Thank you.
excited about that. The whole goal again is to get it one and done. Dijon said he'll be done by the end of pretty much by the end of December. Because your this class actually ends the after the first week in November. So that definitely gives you adequate time to take and pass the test.
So it's gonna be over when?
Next Saturday, next Sunday. So we doing class tonight, which is our first. We're gonna do 3 hours tonight. On tomorrow, full day from 8 in the morning till 6 p.m. Sunday evening from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. I can't go to 10. Y'all know I could go all night.
Where?
7 tomorrow. And the next week, Friday evening, we start at 7. I've had many people suggest that I actually do a Friday evening because for them, you know, it's hard to kind of get the time off work, and then a Saturday can be a bit much. So that's why I started doing the Friday evening.
So then I probably need to schedule my test for what? The 30th, 31st? We'll be done then?
Oh yeah, most definitely. You could. Well,
Uh,
no, the class will be done November. Was it November 6th?
That's a Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do the 7th or the 8th. Okay. I just want to get it in.
Yes.
Okay.
One and done, and get the extension. Now, Michael was able to get her extension, right, Michael?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Got time and a half.
So how much time they normally give on the extension?
Huh?
How much time you normally give on the extension?
They give you double time, which is the 8 hours, or time and a half, which is 6. And that's a lot of time. What it does, if you have known test anxiety, what it does, it just, it kind of diminishes it just a little bit so that you're not, over the top with it.
Understood.
Dimension it just a little bit. Like if you could just get a little bit of extra time, that'll knock out that, the stress of trying to get it all done quickly. All right, go ahead and open up your books. We're going to go ahead and get started. Want to talk about in the very beginning the introduction. Now, this is noteworthy, note-taking worthy. In the very beginning of your book, and then John, you were sort of on last night when we were going through what I call headspace notes. It's a certain way of thinking that you need to have in order to be successful to pass the PMP exam. There's an approach, even though you're coming into this and you're going to learn all of the information from the book, there's a mindset that regardless of what the book says and shows and things of that nature, that you need to have in order to be successful, is going to be what you're going to fall back on no matter what. It's what I call your affirmations, things that I want you saying on a daily basis. I am a firm believer in affirming who you are. I am a firm believer in confessions, positive mental attitude, positive speaking, and then just creating space. Because when you have a sense of gratitude and positivity, you create space space and you open yourself up to learn instead of shutting yourself down and not being able to absorb and take information in, right? So having that is going to be something that when you join the Marco Polo group, you're going to see that positive energy. Everybody's coming on like, hey, here's my brain dump. I did it today. Because the accountability of doing the brain dump twice a day, 3 times on Sunday or 4 times on Sunday, sounds like a joke, but we want you to do it at least twice a day because out of sight, out of mind. Some of the people on the call can attest to if you get away from it for too long, it's like pushing the reset button all over again when you come back into it. So we want you to get into it, stay in it, get it to win it, and get this thing won and done. So with that being said, if you return to the blank page right after the table of contents, you should have some white space there. And go ahead, everybody, turn on your cameras. You should have some white space there, and I'm going to actually have you write some notes in this white space. There's a lot. Did I say a lot?
Yep.
There is a lot of dictation. There is a lot of writing that you're going to do. I want you to have the integrity and I want you to write because writing stimulates the brain. The fact that it's already here, printed, staring at it is not going to jump in your head. But when you get involved with it, start writing it, when you say it out loud, when you're reteaching it, when you're doing teach backs, when you're getting into it, this is how you absorb. This is how you take in the information. And a way to learn is accumulated repetition, So you will repeat, learn, repeat, read, write, read, sing, read, talk, read, draw. You have to do what's called dual modality in order to absorb a lot of this information. And these headspace notes, these are going to be like your daily affirmations. Now, numero uno, the approach that you want to take to this exam is I want you to think of yourself. You just got a job, you're getting paid $250 an hour, and you're coming in to consult at a company that's very well known. A lot of people work there. They're all in their roles doing their job, but yet they cannot manage this project. You know why? Because they're stuck in an environment or they're working in the environment where business as usual has to keep coming along, and they literally have to build a track alongside of the existing train, and eventually they're going to switch tracks. So you're part of that. You're that project manager, that high paid consultant that's been bought in to start building that track. So you're actually going to leverage the same resources that are on the operations train. You're going to leverage them. So keep in mind, they're doing two things. They're doing their daily job and they're doing extra work on your project. So your whole focus is on the project. You don't care about them doing the extra stuff, but you have to keep in mind that they are. So you're the outside consultant. They're paying you top dollar to come in to manage this project. So the first note that I want you to put is that you do not do the work of the project. So put, I do not do the work of the project. I am an outside consultant hired to manage this project. I do not do the work of the project. I am an outside consultant hired to manage this project. And I'm about to switch to my microphone, so I want you guys to let me know if you hear me a little bit better. Mic check 1 2.
A little louder. I
Is
can
it
turn
better?
mine up. Yes. I turn mine up.
Okay, awesome. All right, mic check 1 2. I'm on. My mic sound nice. All right. The next note is you're working a huge project that's changing the world. So you're actually going to use all 49 of the professional project management processes. So the project that you're working on is large enough for you to manage the 49 processes. You're going to use all 49. So you're working a huge project that's changing the world. You're going to use all 49 of the project management professional processes. All right, the next note. And let me know if I'm going too fast because I know you're writing, Dijon. Well, I know all y'all writing, right? All right, the next note. I am the almighty, all powerful, large, and in charge project manager. I am the almighty, all powerful, large, and in charge project manager. And here's what that means to you: you do not wait to be told what to do. Once you are in your job, once you have the charter gives you the authorization to do the work on the project. Once you're given that authorization, you move forward. You literally will, with your professional self, figure out what are we doing, and you're going to actually help the stakeholders get clear on what we should be doing right now. When are we doing it? How much is it going to cost? Even though you have a high level charter in the very beginning of the project, high level charter just gives the objectives of what the project is going to do. High level charter gives you the authorization as the project manager to lead and to be the professional that you are. Once you're given that, you're going to actually take that and you're going to lead. So any test questions that you encounter that basically says you got to get permission, you're escalating to management, you're going to get somebody else to do it, you're telling on somebody, those are the wrong answers. You are very empowered with this exam. As the professional project manager that you are, you're going to actually approach every question on the test as if you have that authority, as if you are that leader. And think about it: if somebody's paying you $250 an hour to get something done that they know they can't do, they have to hire an outside consultant. Why would you need to get their permission? Shouldn't your price tag warrant the fact that you know what you're doing and they need to jump on board and push this thing through, right? And you're unbiased somewhat. So, yes. All right. The next note: nothing, nothing, nothing happens on a project unless it's first planned. Nothing, no thing happens on a project unless it is first planned. Nothing happens on the project unless it's first planned. Nothing, no thing happens on a project unless it's first planned. All right. As a project manager, you're always proactive, never reactive. Always proactive, never reactive. Always proactive, never reactive. And here's what proactive looks like. In parentheses, I want you to put analyze to make decisions. Analyze to make decisions. Here's what an analysis looks like to you. It's not just words in terms of actions. So pretty much what typically happens in a project, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, right? And the project manager, because you are proactive, you're not reactive, you understand professionally based on where you are in a project, what should happen next. You would do an analysis of where you are. You would do an analysis of what problem or issue or challenge, how it impacts the scope, how it impacts the schedule, how it impacts the cost. What are some of the quality standards that will be impacted or affected or affected? Are there any risk factors or issues? Risk and issues are two different things. As a project manager, you have to know the difference between the two. A risk is something that hasn't happened yet. We think it might happen. So anytime you see words on a test, preventive, assumption, assume,
because you cannot manage uncertainty. So assumptions are always a risk for a project manager. Preventive, that's a risk for a project manager. Anything iffy. We think if this happened, then that might happen. If may might, if you see any of those words in a context of a test question, that automatically put you in risk. Okay. So oftentimes when you're reading test questions, people are looking for the word risk. There are clues within test questions that don't necessarily say that this is a risk related question. So this is what makes it hard sometimes if people miss a question and they don't know why they missed it or what happened, because they didn't realize that a lot of those some of those words mean risk. So when we do the risk workshop and when we take the risk section of the test section of the class, I'm going to give you a list of all the words and their synonyms, but all of the words that mean risk and how you apply the risk knowledge area processes to those type questions. And you'll be amazed at, wow, so this is why I got this right. Wow, so this is making better sense. And you don't have to struggle with that. All right. So the way what analysis looks like is you're having a conversation. You're having a conversation with the stakeholder impacted, or you're having a conversation explaining what the impact will be. So usually you'll have a conversation and analysis before to find out. Because remember, you're not the doer of the project work. I think I need to give you that note because I did not say that, did I? Did I give you that the project manager is not the doer of the project work?
You gave us, I do not do the work of the project.
Okay, okay,
I am an outside consultant.
okay. So good. And that's the same statement, right? Just said a different way. You don't do the work of the project. The work is done by the doers. Now, in real world, a lot of us come into studying project management, come into studying for the PMP as the doer of the project work. Okay. As soon as you get a project, you're doing everything. But from a PMI perspective, that's not the case. So you want to make sure that you take that into account when you're answering test questions. You're not the doer of the work. You're the air traffic controller. You're not flying a plane. You're not the pilot. All right. You're the quarterback. You're not the coach. Well, no, you're the coach, not the quarterback. You're the head coach. So as you know, with football, the head coach never plays in the game. While the game is being played, they're on the sidelines, fussing and cussing, hollering and screaming, doing doing what they do to manage it. All right. The next note I want you to put here is OPAs are always available. OPAs is organizational process assets. When you're managing a project managers, and we are queens and kings of this, we love to create artifacts or project documents. We'll create like a whole dissertation and make it all pretty and send it to everybody and get mad in a meeting when you know you did all that work and people didn't read it. All right. That documentation is for you currently and it's also for future projects. More than likely, and I'm just going to give you a clue that people who are currently working with you on a project may not thoroughly read whatever documents and artifacts you created on behalf of that project. Okay. However, it doesn't dismiss the fact that you need to do it. You need to do it for yourself because what you're establishing is professional habits to be a professional project manager. And here's the thing, you want to this is mag 101. I want to leave, and when I leave the project can still go on and everyone is still successful with or without me. Okay? Because if you leave and the whole project fails, people don't know what to do, don't know what anything is, can't figure out what's going on with the project, and they only remember what was said in the last meeting, then as a project manager, we will not doing our job well. It's 90% of what we do is communicate, and we need to over communicate. So we communicate in writing, we communicate visually, we communicate, of course, in our meetings, and we make the information available. All right, the next note, there's no such thing as people on projects. People are called what?
Stakeholders.
Stakeholders. So
Stakeholders.
the language that we use, stakeholders. Stakeholders are how we refer to people on projects. And as a project manager, when you are referring to a stakeholder, you need to understand what piece of the pie, how much consideration do you need to give this particular stakeholder? Okay. So a piece of the pie is an acronym that I came up with, P, 4 I's and an E. The P is for power. How much power does this individual have? And if that individual is part of a group, how much power does that group have over the project? That's very important for you to know as a project manager. Projects can fail due to not clarifying that. All right, the second thing you need to know is how much impact that this individual have on a project. Impact, IMPACT, influence, INFLUENCE. How much influence they have over the project and over others on the project. Involvement, how involved are they going to be? INVOLVEMENT. How involved is this person going to be? So we say, and how much interest do they have? INTEREST. How much interest? That's it. Interest, impact, involvement, and interest.
Oh, sorry, I'm on mute. You said influence.
Influence, yes. Interest, influence, involvement, and impact. You need to figure it out for each person. And then the E in pie is expectations. What does this person, what does this individual, what does this group of individuals expect? I had a question earlier today in one of the coaching calls. And the question was, well, what's a stakeholder? Is the stakeholder the steering committee, or is a stakeholder the management team? And remember, I said there is no such thing as people on projects. Everybody, every human being, this would make it easy for people. Every human is considered a stakeholder. And it's a matter of figuring out how much power, interest, influence, impact, involvement the individual is going to have on a project. And then what is their expectations? So a steering committee, right? That's more of the governance body, correct? And then your executive team, that's more of the leadership. So the two of them have to be considered in terms of what are the, because of their power level, right? They all have high power on a project. All right, one of the things, and this is an example I usually give in class, what if you're on a project? Let's say you started with this company, very promising, you've been doing some great things, and the company is a development. They come into a new area and they will do an all-out development, right? So they're doing this development, and the day they're supposed to break ground on a project to build a huge development, they show up with the bulldozers, and it's people strapped to trees and signs saying save the trees. If you're that project manager, number one, why did that happen? And then number two, what would you do? And they have the media out there. Like soon as you walk up, they go, you the project manager, you don't know to say yes or no. And then they put the microphone in your face. And they're like, hey, what's going on here? What do you think? Like, why, number one, why did that happen? And then number two, what would you do? Because remember, you almighty, all powerful. They pay you $250 plus an hour. Tell me something good.
I would probably say no comment.
What would you do? Run? You would run and hide? If they say, hey, you're the project, we've been waiting on you all day. All right, come on, Michael, clean it up. What would y'all do? The spin master.
Um, the scenario you said you show up where? Say it again.
This is the day you're supposed to break ground on a development project.
Mm-hmm.
And the day you show your bulldozers, everybody show up. There are people strapped to trees with signs.
Oh, protesting.
Protesting. Like, you're not about to cut this tree down. If you cut the tree down, you got to cut me down. I mean, they went all in, and the news media is there. Why did that happen?
Because the person wasn't proactive in finding out. I don't know if this is a new country, state, or whatever development, or how it's working, but did not do their due diligence and research to see what was happening in the political climate. Because if you would have done that, you would have planned for that in the front end of the project. So that wasn't done. And then, so now fast forward to us being here. What would I do as the project manager? I have to dismiss the crew because there's nothing we can do. You can't do the work because you can't get through. So you have to dismiss and reschedule, figure out what and clean up whatever, what role of that involvement is in being with the public authorities and getting some assistance and things of that nature. What you have to do to start. But I don't know if it would be considered risk because it wasn't a crisis plan. Like, I'd be thinking too much.
It's an issue at that point. Yeah, crisis is an issue. I mean, you can't run over people with a bulldozer.
Right.
And then first of all, how y'all strapping yourself to a tree? But anyway, that's a whole
Maybe it was a little log.
yes.
You haven't been to San Francisco, the Bay Area. They protest everything out there.
Really?
Yeah, I used to work for a company based out of there, and every time I went out there, it was a protest.
Oh wow.
Like, literally save the trees, save the world. Like,
There are people out there that care. And what happens is oftentimes a project manager may think that they're proactive, but if you don't understand the culture, you don't understand the people, you may have had a sign posted. You know, how they make you post a sign that says, hey, public hearing, hey, this, hey, that, and people may not have even attended.
Right.
They could be having their private, because people have to organize to do something like that. So where are these people organizing, right? But they may be having their private subdivision meetings. So you have to, of course, infiltrate the political landscape because politics, guys, believe it or not, that those are stakeholders. And if there's a law or some type of pending environmental factor that will be impacted by your project, you have to consider that. This is why if you're getting paid top dollar as a project manager, that you approach it from a professional perspective and not just they gave me these three names and this is all my people. No, when people give you three names, you need to go deeper. If this is an attempt they've done before, you need to find out why it didn't happen when it was supposed to happen before. What are some of the challenges that people are currently experiencing? Like, you need to really get to do some due diligence and get to know the environment. You have to, of course, trust people. You got to benchmark and you have to network. Okay. Three, four good qualities that a project manager must have. And write this down. You must have the ability to influence, persuade, motivate, and negotiate. Influence, persuade, motivate, and negotiate. Influence, persuade, motivate, negotiate. Influence, persuade, motivate, negotiate. All right, let's talk about the work environment that you're in as a project manager. And the approach you need to make for this test is that you work in a strong matrix or a project oriented. Strong matrix, matrix, or project oriented organizational. All right. All right. Again, you work in a strong matrix or a project oriented organizational structure here. So, in order for you to have the power to be almighty, all powerful, to mandate that 250 bucks an hour, to mandate that I understand and I know how to do organizational reengineering and change management, you pretty much have to have the liberty and the freedom to be able to work in an org structure. Project management does not work well in a functional hierarchical, and I'm gonna use the word military top down, where you have, CEO, then you got director, then you got manager, and then you got doers, and then you got people under them, team leads, and all that stuff. That's stacked organizational structure is not conducive for a project manager, because a project manager has to be in direct contact and communication with decision makers as well as the directive level. And what ends up happening is if you don't have the buy in from your senior executive level, all of those levels in the middle will basically squander all of your efforts as a project manager. So, one of the things, and this is one of the main things that I tell you to do, and this is, guys, understanding and studying this information, it is a science. And if you operate it like the science is sort of set up, you can set yourself up for success, because the very first document that gives you the authority to work the project, to say, I am the leader that you gave responsibility to do this, is the charter. The charter is what gives you the authority. The charter came from those old king queen days where a king or a kingdom, in order to expand, they would send out an explorer with a scroll, and that they had that scroll, which gave them the authority to operate just like the king and queen of that country. And if I go to another country and I'm representing, they're like, who, they got their arrows and spears pointing toward me, who sent you here? And I'm like, I come in peace. I come in by the authority of King Jaffer, or whatever. And you show them that scroll. Who gave you that authority, right? So that's the same thing. Someone that's in authority has to give you authority. And when they give you that authority, that charter document, that's not what you work toward. Now, the charter document just gives you the authority to be the professional that you are. And when you get that document, you're going to operate professionally. Okay. So when you operate professionally, they may have a hard date in that charter. They may have a hard budget in that charter. But the reality is, once we get clear on what we're doing right now in this project right now, your job is to help them get clear on what is the scope, what are the actions, what are the requirements, what is the right now, what's the low hanging fruit, what is the objective, what is the end result. You have to have critical thinking skills to do that. You have to be a great problem solver. You have to be an amazing listener. And then you have to have those skills I just said: the ability to influence, persuade, motivate, and negotiate. Now, negotiate in terms of project management is your ability to change the minds of senior management. Motivation is temporary. You all realize that, right? So motivation is, you hear a motivational speech, everybody's ready to move at that very moment. The reason why you got to keep hearing motivational speeches, because it is temporary. It's a temporary move. You're moving people in a particular direction. All right. All right. And the next note, I'm going to actually put this picture here on the screen. I want you all, this kind of just gives a visual of what I'm saying. Our job as a project manager is to do it all. And what that all entails, I've drawn this picture is like the side of a person's face. So I want you to think of this. This is the mind. This is the thinking. This is the wheels that are turning in the mind of a project manager. We are to identify all stakeholders. So we already know just human nature, even from your grade school on up, you've learned that you have to capture the who, what, when, where, why, and how of things, right? So who? Stakeholders, when we identify all of them, not some, but all, even groups of stakeholders, and how much power, interest, influence, impact, involvement, and expectations. I want you all to practice saying that fast. I want you to practice saying it out loud. I know it sounds easy flowing off my tongue, but I want it to be able to flow off yours as well.
Yeah, I gave you the allergy.
Yeah, but allergy.
All right. The next thing is, you want to get all requirements, not some. You want all of what they need and want. The word requirements is a fancy word. That's the PMI terminology for just telling people, finding out from people, what do they need and what do they want? What do they need and what do they want? All right. Ensuring that that gets met, that is quality, and then anticipating problems that will prevent you from meeting that. That is risk management. As a project manager, you need to be proactive and not reactive in that. You need to be proactive and not reactive in that. 90% of what you do as a project manager is communicate. Communicate is your ability to author content, put things in writing, articulate, facilitate meetings. So this is the work of a project manager. Next to communicate, in parentheses, I want you to put manage stakeholders' expectations. Communications is managing stakeholders' expectations. So when you read test questions, you'll actually see it worded that way. Manage stakeholder expectations. Anytime you see manage stakeholders expectations, that means you are communicating, because that's what you're doing. You're influencing what they expect. You're persuading them to think and feel a certain way. As a project manager, like the example I gave last night, you can walk in a room with confidence and tell people what to do in the midst of complete chaos. With confidence, you're managing your stakeholders' expectations with that communications. But if you all over the place, you can't figure it out, the sky is falling and you're whining and crying about it too. All right, so manage stakeholders' expectations. All right, and I want you to also write this down. There are 4 things that you need to, these are 4 elements of the PMI Code of Ethics. The Code of Ethics is, we follow a strong ethical code. So if you work in an organization or you work in a company, you tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you the truth. And omitting the truth is also a lie. So you want to be truthful, you want to be honest. And so those 4 elements of the PMI Code of Ethics, and just put PMI Code of Ethics, those 4 elements are responsibility. So if you're given authority to work the project, you have to be responsible. You take full responsibility for what's done and for what's not done. The next is fairness, Fairness. You have to be fair. If you find out that you work with a next door neighbor, a friend, this is your brother, sister, cousin, full disclosure. The way to get with fairness is to fully disclose what could be considered a conflict of interest. Full disclosure. Any option that shows you gave full disclosure is the right answer. The next is honesty, Honesty. Being honest, telling the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you the truth. And then respect, Respect. Respecting everyone, regardless of their race, creed, color, political affiliation, religious background. As a project manager, we are to uphold a strong code. Once you obtain your certification, people can actually file a complaint against you with the code of ethics if you are found unethical in terms of projects. All right, any questions? All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, you deserve a break. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. We're going to come back at the half hour. Grab you some coffee. All right, everybody back. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to get into the introduction in your book. All right, so the John um, introduction where it says the project management PMP exam. Go ahead and read those first two paragraphs for me.
Project management professional exam. Specific information about the project management, uh, about the PMP exam is available. That part?
Yes.
Okay. Details on each person's PMP application and the application process is outside the scope of this course. Any questions about the application or the application process can be directed to the instructor outside of the class. The exam format. The maximum exam time provided is 4 hours, including optional breaks. An additional 15 minutes are allotted prior to the start of the exam to complete the exam tutorial. After the exam, an optional survey is presented, then a score report is generated. The exam consists of 200 multiple choice questions with 4 options, 1 correct answer. 175 of the 200 questions are used for scoring. 25 preset questions are randomly placed throughout the exam, but these are not used to generate the exam score. The exam pace. 200 questions must be answered within 4 hours, so pace and timing are important. Keep a minimum pace of 50 questions per hour. Attempt questions sequentially on the first pass. Each pass should be completed strategically as discussed below. Skip and mark question. Oh, you said the first two, right? I should have kept going.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, great job. So in essence, I want you to write in the first set of bullet points where it talks about 175 of the 200 questions are scored. Next to that, I want you to write the word experimental. 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 You got 25 experimental questions on the PMP exam. Whether you get those 25 right or wrong, they do not count. They are test questions of the test questions, and more than likely you'll know if you encountered a experimental test question because it will be something we have not covered. Okay. Test strategy as you are taking a test. Can you all still hear me? I just got an error message by my microphone. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. It says skip lengthy, difficult questions, especially at the beginning of the test. And pretty much the way your test is designed, the first 89 questions, they force you to take a break after those 89. And before you take the break, you have to review your first 89 questions. You cannot go back to those questions after your break. All right. If you get the time extension, it's the first 2 hours. Okay. All right. So, but here's what I say. If the question is very long, one of the things that I do not want you to do, I don't want you to start at that top down approach where you read the entire question and then you get to the bottom. Let's
I think I'm having technical issues. I can't hear you.
Mic check 1 2. Is that better?
Yeah.
Mic 1 2. Okay, awesome. The real test question is right here in the blue box. So here's what I suggest when you're taking a test. I want you to read the real question first. Anticipate the answer, look at all 4. If you need to, read the whole thing. So you're gonna read real questions, options, drama. Okay, is the John frozen?
No.
Okay, looks like he's frozen.
Oh, yeah.
The John, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't know what's going on. How to make it work.
Okay, yeah, it looks like you're frozen. All right, so real questions, options, then the drama, right? And then once you do that, let's say the answer doesn't just immediately just like, bam, this is it, right? Do it one more time, real questions, options, drama. If the answer doesn't immediately come to you, when in doubt, Charlie out. So I want you to select an answer, right? And you want to mark the question. There you go, the John. We see you now.
All right.
Did you hear any of that? All right, so again, real questions, options, then drama. All right. Now, do not read or go over, reread and reread and reread a question more than twice, because that's when your confidence goes down. When you select an answer and you mark it, so that way you could come to it later. When you get to the end of the test, or when you get to number 89, you can filter the test by all of the marked questions, and you can go back and answer those later. What you don't want is that Pac-Man mentality. Y'all remember Pac-Man, the video game, and just crunch, 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 just eat up everything. You don't want your time being eaten up, because you don't know what's coming next, and you may need more time for future questions. So don't spend too much time reading a question more than twice. Okay, just stick to the twice. Looks like we lost the John for a moment there. I am going to pause because he is the reason we're doing a class. So we want to make sure he comes back. See if I can get him on the phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to make.
Oh, okay. That's why I said I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna keep moving without you.
I should be back in 1 second.
Okay. You're in Decatur, right? The Decatur area, Michael.
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm thinking tomorrow I might have to meet him somewhere. He's in Sewanee. Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I'm back.
A lot better.
Yeah, better.
Okay. Only thing I talked about was skipping, how to skip through and select the mark an answer to come back to later. Mark doubtful questions for review in a second or third pass throughout the exam. Respond to any skip questions in a second pass through the exam. Respond to any marked questions after all skip questions have been answered. Strategies to follow: read each question carefully at least twice. And remember, I talked about the real question, not the whole thing from top down. Highlight keywords or phrases. I'm going to teach you that method in terms of keywords and phrases throughout the test. Pay close attention to tricky and absolute terms like not correct, except, all, always, none, never in questions as well as in options. Only, either, or. Add to this in your book the word only. So you ask a question and say the project manager only does blah, 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 blah. Those are typically wrong answers. And then two other phrases: either or, neither nor. If you see either or, neither nor in questions and only, those are usually wrong answers. Pay close attention to those. Eliminate unsuitable options until the best answer is remaining. All right. Choose the most inclusive option when there's more than one correct option. Answer every question since there's no negative marking for incorrect responses. All right, and all that should be highlighted green. For situational questions, determine the current stage of the project and the process or processes being described. Consider what is currently happening and what should be done next. Think of the process chart to help frame the question. Here, you're going to look for options that describes the project manager as being proactive and not reactive. Remember, here we analyze before making decisions. Look for the option that describes the project manager as a powerful and responsible person who has authority to make decisions regarding the project. Consistently scoring 75% or higher on projects, on practice questions, is a good indicator that you're ready to pass the test. John, you're going to get an email from PM Aspire. That is going to be some practice questions, a milestone check to kind of see, you know, where you are in reference to test questions and things of that nature.
Okay.
Now, have you read the PMBOK?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
Oh, okay.
I've glanced over it in recent months.
6?
You
Was
said
it-
6?
Is it about 6, the one that you glanced over?
Yeah, 6.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a requirement for the class. But if you read it, it doesn't hurt because that's what the test is based on.
I pretty much use it for reference.
Okay, good. And it's a good gauge to use for reference. All right, we're gonna go into the material here. Project and project management. Now here, just so you know, John, the way it works is a lot of dictation. I'll be giving you a lot of stuff to write in the book, and I really want you to write in the area that it belongs in. The way your book is designed is missing a lot of information intentionally because it's meant for us to work together with it, which is the beauty of doing a virtual class, because the way the book is set up, whether you're live in the flesh or virtual, you're still successful because the virtual experience is the same as the live experience. Like, we don't move past you writing these notes. Yeah. All right.
We're literally moving with your moving background.
Huh?
Oh, I know, it's kind of, I'm queasy. But I love it.
Is she,
It's like we have Six Flags
she moving? Okay.
on the ride.
The first one was a waterfall and it switched.
Well, yeah, a plane or something, sightseeing.
All right. It's like a drone view of.
Right. Now you're in the cloud.
Now we're going to heaven.
Highway to heaven.
In the boardroom now.
You taking us all over the place.
Huh?
I say you taking us all over the place.
I know, right? All right. Oh, before we get into that, really quick, guys, do your intro in terms of what area you're in and your motivation for the test, so that John know who you all are and you all know who he is.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I am Mikhail. I am born and raised in Atlanta. I currently am a project manager. Well, I'm transitioning to a new position, a new company, in a new position from an old company. My role was senior engagement manager there. I didn't like it much, but transitioning over to Cox now, communications. I used to be with Cox previously, so this should be fun. And I'm also on 2 boards. I am, did I say from Atlanta? Yep, probably. Everything about me is family. I kind of am weird. My life is managed like a project, seriously. But I get things done. And I think that's about it. Oh, I take the test on November 28th. This will be my second go around. And I don't know how many training classes, I'm not counting, but Mag, I love Mag. Mag gonna give it to you raw, real. Make sure you're, doing what you have to do, your part in getting and obtaining your PMP. She's definitely the I forgot what it is. She turns on the light for you, but it's your job to keep the light going. So she definitely does that for you. So I'm here if you have questions.
Nice to meet you.
Born and raised in Atlanta.
Yes.
That's very rare.
Rare. All right. Everybody's migrants like me.
Right.
Yes. Are you a post-Katrina migrant, John?
Yeah. I moved here from Houston.
Oh, wow.
I have family in Houston.
I went from, when I graduated from Southern, I went from Baton Rouge to Dallas, Dallas to Houston, Houston to Atlanta, Atlanta to DC, DC back to Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you got a nice little, yeah. I mean, because
And I travel for a living.
Oh, wow.
even now?
Now I just stopped traveling as of November of last year. So even though I've been here for 10 years, I feel like I don't even know Atlanta because I never had this, like I was always on the plane every Monday and every Friday. I was never here.
And tell us about your project experience. What type of work that you're doing where you're traveling? Consultant.
So I've been working on projects for almost 10 years now. My bachelor's in electrical engineering, and I worked in a lot of quality initiatives. So right now, I work as an automation engineer for a company that makes hand sanitizer. And well, initially the company makes floor mats for like those soft gym mats that you guys may see in the gym. But since coronavirus, they've transitioned to making hand sanitizer. So I work on the sanitation side of the business. We buy all type of equipment from China, and we put hand sanitizer in bottles, bags, cups, you name it. And I just have to, my goal is to make money for them.
Wow. That's
And I hate it. I hate it.
it's amazing how they figured out a way to pivot though.
Yeah.
All right. They going with the money with no structure, and it's like,
Exercise mat. With a whole pandemic killing people.
all right, they transitioning from mats in the gym, mat. So the company that I work for, they're part census, the people that
Mhm.
they're part, like they own like 25%. So they make mats and they bring them to like schools and hospitals, all these big businesses, and that side of the business is forever thriving. So they took I mean, they tapped into the sanitation business, and so the company as a whole is winning, and
Wow.
it's gone with the punches.
Where to go when every store you go to has absolutely no sanitizer.
But the hand sanitizer that we make,
It's commercial.
that crap smell like moonshine. I wouldn't.
Well, it's alcohol, so I could imagine.
Right. So it's like I don't think they got the recipe down pat, and we just make it work. So after a long days of work, like I smell like I've been at the speakeasy.
Wow. Wow, wow. Exciting though. I love to hear about people's exciting projects. Michelle, speaking of drinking, Miller.
Okay, so what you need to know? On projects forever, like maybe like 15 years. But for the last, well, let me just say for COVID, I actually been running my own little nonprofit. It's a project in itself because I'm working with people who need to get GEDs and things like that, and to keep people focused is. I understand your plight sometimes, how to keep people focused. So, like I said, that's a project in itself, and I've been doing it for 9 months.
Congratulations on that, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I think too, when people realize that, whoa, I tried to bypass this step in life and I really can't move forward until I get it done.
True.
That's a huge motivation factor then. All right, well, guys, just to kind of give you guys my experience, I started out, I went to Southern University as well, computer science major. I actually started out working for JP Morgan Chase very, very early in my career. One of the things that I did from the age of 14 up until I started working for JP Morgan Chase, I worked for this phenomenal lady who owned this company called Pages Typing and Copy Center in Baton Rouge. So you probably know her. But she was right across from the McDonald's, and it was like the Kinko's of the area. And on Hardin Boulevard, corner of Hardin Boulevard and Senior Highway. And one of the things that we did was I typeset everything, typeset programs, and I did legal documents. One of the things that I did was the big thing that I did was resumes and CVs for people, and just really writing out or just creating marketing material for speakers and preachers and churches and even the executives not the executives, but the politics for the area. She did it all. And I had to learn so much stuff. I had to know MLA format. I had to know all these different formats before it was a thing for me. And I started there at 14. So that was where I got a lot of my experience. So suffice to say, any type of job I apply for in terms of wordsmithing a resume, in terms of articulating what value I could bring to whatever, I could do that on a collegiate level, on an extremely professional level, because we were even writing presentations for executives. Okay. So that was my writing skills, and that was also the ability, pretty much that I had. And I worked for the chancellor at Southern University at the time as well. So I spent a lot of my volunteer time, 15, 16 years old, going up there during the summertime and just sitting up under the wings of people that's running the university. So I got a lot of experience. And when it came to applying for jobs, I was not afraid to apply for anything that required that you had an advanced degree, because I was just as competent as any degree professional. I can articulate, I can write it, I could tell you, I knew the language, the lingo, I knew how to do certain things because I had been involved so much. And that's pretty much how I started my career. Like, I remember the lady interviewing me going, wait a minute, aren't you in college? I said, I am. And she was like, well, you assisted customers with decisions regarding food purchases. What's that? I said, I'm just a cashier. And she was, I mean, she was so mesmerized by how my resume was worded. I got the job. And I remember coming home telling my dad that I gotten this job paying $15 an hour in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I was, you know, right at 19 years old. Just
what year was this?
This was in 92, 91, 92.
That says a lot.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And I ended up taking on another job because some people kind of came to the job and was asking questions and stuff. They was like, hey, could you help us here? So I would volunteer and it turned into money. So suffice to say, the company that I work for sort of went through a transition where up north, there was a merger that took place. The executives were from up north. And if you lived in Louisiana for some time, you understand the mindset. So when they came, they were just like, okay, who we can pick to help us get this together? And they were like, hey, you. They were picking college students, people who had a level of competency that would get where they were trying to go. And they put us in, I kid you guys not, an on-the-job MBA program. They didn't call it that, but that's how I could summarize it. Basically, we were behind the curtain with the executives making decisions on where we were going forward. What were the existing problems? They needed us to work with LSU and some of the other universities to benchmark how we were going to get case studies to get ourselves out of certain situations they were in. They were recovering loss. They were doing all of this wonderful stuff. And we were right there as college students, learning how to research and learning how to convert research into action items so that the company would do what we needed to do. And we had all of the buy-in from the executives, and they were like, whatever you guys suggest, that's what we're going to do. And of course, we had to back it up with research. So that's really how I got tried in the fire in terms of project management. And I've actually been able to take that experience pretty much everywhere I went in terms of a process improvement, strong process improvement background, strong change management. How do you change not only what's happening in an organization, but how do you change behaviors? How do you work on developing different habits? How do you bring in systems to assist and change the mindset to let people know that it's here to assist? The beauty of me being able to do that is I'm one of 17. I have siblings that could be my grandparents, right? And I have younger siblings as well. So I'm in a sandwich generation, and that's the way I grew up. I have siblings that can be my grandparents. I have nieces and nephews that are older than I am. And the beauty is my family treated me like I was a sister. Even though I was younger, they didn't treat me like I was their child. You know, so even though I'm auntie and I got nieces and nephews older than I am, they still refer to me as their aunt. Probably too because I was a little bit mature for my age. So just being able to cross generationally, that takes a lot of work, guys, because you can literally come in as a young person, and I work with people who struggled. They were my age and they literally struggled. They did not get the same success. They could not manage people that were older than them. They would literally break down, fall apart, and just really couldn't get things done and get the blame for everything and then walk around trying to figure out what happened. And I didn't realize that all of my life experiences, and I want you guys to think of this because I'm saying this for a reason, connect the dots, your entire life experience. You being child number 3, you being a stepsister, stepbrother, whatever, all of those experiences from your youth up to now, traveling from all the different states and the places where you've been is important to connect the dots because that is some value that you have for your right now. And that is also the life of a project manager. A lot of people call it master of jack of all trades, master of none. I call it jack of all trades, master of all, because I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not the doer. So you keep in mind that you're not the doer, you're able to leverage and to coordinate based on who has what skill set, embrace people for where they are and allow them to fully show up with whatever value they bring. You could be a great project manager. All right. So let's get into projects and project management. All right, so this requires for you to write a note. Next to where it says projects and project management in your book, I want you to write elements of a project. Now, projects are undertaken for all levels of an organization. They can involve one person, a group, or one or more organizational units or departments. The following are some elements of projects. Number one, with your yellow highlighter. So you'll need the yellow and the green highlighter. With your yellow highlighter, I want you to highlight projects create a unique product, service, or result. Projects and products are two different things. A product is something tangible you can see, feel, and touch. All right, so a product, I'm holding this water bottle in my hand. This is a product, it's something tangible. You can see it, feel it, touch it. So projects create products. All right, number two, projects enable the achievement of number one, projects enable the achievement of organizational objectives by, put the word creating in the blank, by creating a tangible or intangible deliverable. When we say something is tangible, it's something you can touch, feel, see. Something that's intangible, you can't really see it, feel it, touch it. All right, so I want you to put at the end of the sentence here, and these are some examples. Adding new, A-D-D-I-N-G, adding. So if you're adding something new, that's an example of a project. Modifying something existing, that's an example of a project. Correcting problems or defects, that is an example of a project. All right, projects are temporary, meaning it has a definite beginning and a what?
And
ending.
Then
Yes, a project has a definite beginning and an end. So if you're called a project manager and you're managing some type of ongoing something, that's not a project. Project has to have an end in sight. Okay, now typically what project you purchase or what product you created rolls into operations and the company sustains it after the fact. But projects are temporary endeavors. Regardless of whether it's long or short in duration, projects end when the objectives have been met, MET, or when a valid reason for termination exists. Number three, projects drive change. So you should highlight number 1, 2, and 3 yellow. Projects are temporary. And number 3, projects drive change. Projects aim to move an organization from its current state, basically from where they are, to another desired state by driving change, C-H-A-N-G-E. That's one thing that a project manager needs to be able to do is change management, drive the change re-engineering through the deliverables they create. That's also including changing behaviors and all that good stuff. Number 4, projects create business value. And I'm going to use some terminology that you'll see in test questions, but put next to that fit for use. Fit, F-I-T, for, F-O-R, use, U-S-E. When you say fit for use, that means that something must have value. It must meet the needs of the person that's using it. It must be fit for somebody to use it, for lack of a better term. So business value, V-A-L-U-E, this is quantifiable, it's tangible. The intangible benefit when projects are undertaken would be something like how much money was saved, what part of the market share was involved, how efficient are we, what type of reputation do we have now as a result of this, brand recognition, goodwill. Those are the intangibles. But for the most part, a project should create business value and it must meet real needs. Number 5, projects are initiated based on specific organizational context. So in parentheses next to that, I want you to put company desire. Numerous factors drive organizations to initiate projects. For example, a desire for a new or an improved product, service, or process, regulatory requirements, legal requirements, social requests, stakeholder requests or need, technology or business strategy. So these are reasons or desires that a company would have in terms of them taking on a project. It says, discuss some examples of a project. All right, so give me some examples of a project.
Let's see.
I would say anything with a time constraint attached to it and a monetary value.
Yep, give me an example of something like that. Like a specific example.
$30,000, 30 days.
I know, but what in 30,000? Give me $30,000 in 30 days. I'll take it. Is that a lottery ticket? So if you create something, a contest where somebody can win $30,000 in 30 days,
Mhm.
that could be a project. You can run a campaign from October 23rd to November 23rd.
Yeah, like something on V103.
I know, right? Makes you want to listen to the radio. They giving away money like that now?
People don't even, I don't even listen to the radio no more.
Right. I don't know when the last time I listened to the radio.
Okay, Meg is gone.
Give me an example of a project you worked on. Okay, it's Friday night. Everybody's late. So let me just give y'all some examples. Write this down.
I was gonna say I had one.
I was let everybody else answer.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
So I got one I'm doing now. I got 2 bathrooms and a kitchen, and I'm getting all of the floors redone. And it has to be done by 2 weeks from now. So it's starting on when I come back Monday.
That's the whole project right there.
Yes, it is.
Renovating floors in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Awesome. Somebody else have one?
Creating a software application.
Yes, creating a software application.
Yeah.
All right, Dijon is on.
Right now, I'm working on a project on my job to apply a batch number and a date code to a bag of hand sanitizer. So that's the current project that I'm working on.
Is this after you put it in the bag or before?
Before, so I have a laser stamping device, and I have to stamp the bag before it's filled with a batch number and a best use date.
You all have a, look at me trying to fix the project. Do you all have a numbering system?
Yeah, a numbering system and a date where it's supposedly quote unquote still good until.
And is it already registered with GIS?
This is all one day at a time, trial and error, and we all just trying to figure it out. No structure.
I'm just hearing laser and alcohol. It sounds like a fire to me. God is fire.
Just look out on the news channel, channel 4.
Yes. So, yeah, we could talk offline about how to fix that because naming conventions, numbering systems, and all that stuff, you have a good way to do it is tap into one that exists, so you always know what it is if it's based on a standard. But if they're already in GS1, if they're not in GS1, they got to get in GS1. That's how you get it approved.
Gotcha.
All right. So add a new feature to a product, add a label to a product. I don't think we understand in real world, right? All of what goes into the things that we take advantage of on a daily basis. One of my clients, I have a client that their role is to put labels on medical equipment. If the federal government changes a requirement, like they do a lot of times, they literally have to throw away all the medical equipment that had the old labels. Like for instance, when they did the whole thing with latex gloves, and if something is created in a factory that has nuts or latex or whatever, that the label couldn't say certain things and they had to say something else. So everything that was created in those big manufacturing plants, like your company said, oh, we'll do hand sanitizer. Well, if you also have fibers that's made to create mats in the same environment and they pass a law, you have to throw away everything you've already created and done to get stuff relabeled and to say that this wasn't done that way. So they make companies waste a lot of money. Alrighty, so project management. Highlight this next paragraph yellow. This is the application of knowledge, KNOWLEDGE, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project's requirements. And that's yellow, highlighting yellow. Project management involves applying and integrating project management processes as needed throughout a project. And I want you to put 2 asterisks at the bottom of this page, and I want you to write this note. A PM is successful. A project manager is successful, or a PM is successful when they meet project objectives. We are successful when we meet project objectives. What was that? I got that. A PM is successful when they meet the project objectives. So a project can be managed as standalone within the context of a program, PROGRAM, or as part of a portfolio, PORTFLIO. Program and portfolio management are different from project management in terms of their life cycles, activities, objectives, focus, and benefits. However, the stakeholders and resources for each of these can be the same. Hence, effective coordination between all levels is necessary to limit the amount of conflict that could exist in terms of sharing resources and managing stakeholders. Program management. Now, program management, that's your next level. This is who manages your project managers. Next to program managers, put PGMP, PGMP, PGMP. And then put next to that, managed by PMO. PMO in all caps. Your PMO is your project management office. Some keywords that I want you to write next to this and put related projects and multiple projects. Related projects and multiple projects. All right, Michael, do you have your book? Mm-hmm. Okay, go cover what you have on this page right here.
Discuss some examples of programs. Construction of housing complex with several buildings. Construction of housing complex with several buildings. Then I have NASA, and in parentheses, satellite. NASA, and satellite. The next example of a program is a system-wide SAP, S is in Sam, A is in Apple, P is in Paul, implementation. System-wide S as in Sam, A is in Apple, P is in Paul, implementation. And the last one is an ERP implementation. E is in Edward, R is in Randy, P is in Paul, implementation. The next paragraph, program management, highlight this in yellow, refers to the application of knowledge, skills, and principles to a program, program, to achieve the program objectives and obtain benefits and control not available by managing program components individually. Again, highlight that paragraph in yellow. The next paragraph, you can highlight that one in yellow as well. Whereas project management addresses the interdependencies within a project, program management addresses the interdependencies among its related, RELATED, projects and other program components to adopt the best approach for managing them. Highlight that sentence in yellow. Portfolio management, in parentheses next to that, write P is in Paul, F is in Frank, M is in Mary, P is in Paul, PFMP, so portfolio management. And I have an asterisk next to that, includes operations. And then in parentheses next to that, put think of as an umbrella. Think of as an umbrella. A portfolio refers to project, programs, subsidiary portfolios, and operations managed as a group to achieve strategic, STRATEGIC, strategic objectives. The note next to this sentence is senior leadership / executives. Senior leadership / executives. Highlight portfolio management in yellow and the definition for portfolio in yellow. Programs or projects of a portfolio may not be interdependent or directly related. I'm going to have a note outside of that sentence. Keyword strategic. Keyword strategic. Discuss some examples of portfolios. 3 that I have, the first one is risk. And parentheses beside risk is insurances and safety. Insurances and safety. Next is financial. And the third one is IT. IT. Portfolio management refers to the centralized management of one or more portfolios to achieve strategic objectives. Portfolio components are grouped together for better management and governance. Circle governance. Over work that aims to meet the organizational strategies and priorities, in parentheses, based on risk, funding, and other factors. Portfolio management helps guide investment, INVESTMENT, decisions, and provides the authority to make decisions and provide the necessary resources to meet those defined strategies. Highlight that paragraph in yellow. Whereas project and program management focus on managing in the best way, portfolio management is concerned with taking on the best programs and projects. And then I have a note alongside this, right alongside this sentence, usually dealing with C-level leadership and succession planning. Usually dealing with C-level leadership and succession planning. Any questions on that page?
That was good.
I don't have a question, but is that line at the bottom of every page is normally blank, or is that something that goes there?
No, it's just a line. It's
Yeah,
blank.
it's the line. You just
Oh,
write.
okay.
Yeah.
Showing it.
'Cause after every page, I feel like, am I missing that line?
Am I supposed to be right? Got it. All right. Okay, on the next page, and thank you, Mikey. All right, the following depicts a sample portfolio structure showing programs, projects, and operations. Usually a picture is worth 1,000 words. So you see that photo, and it just kind of shows you that a portfolio is the high level, almost like an umbrella, and everything sort of falls up underneath it. Now, the nemesis of project management is operations management. So in parentheses next to operations management, just put nemesis, Nemesis. Pretty much operations management involves the ongoing production of goods and services of a company. This is what keeps the company going, right? Project management is a temporary endeavor. So sometimes cross-functionally, the names of the different roles can be used interchangeably, but it should not be, because your project, again, once we're done, once the deliverable is complete, that moves over to operations. All right, so although management of ongoing operations is outside the scope of project management, these are points where operations and project management cross during a life cycle. So pretty much for the operations management, those are your MBAs of the world. So people who go to school get their master's degree. So they're getting a master's in operations management, basically how to run a whole company, new product development, upgrades, or expansions. So this is why I tell people that the PMP is equivalent to the MBA. The difference is the PMP, you don't have to have a college degree to get it. And it's for a temporary endeavor where you're leveraging the organizational resources to get the work done. It's the exact same training as getting an MBA. All right, so improvement to operations or the product development processes at the end of the product life cycle and project and phase closeouts. Highlighting yellow, the last paragraph in terms of operations management. Deliverables and knowledge must be effectively transferred between the project and operations and vice versa for successful implementation. So once you get the labels done, once you figure all that out, there's a project to get it done, right? But once that thing is done, it's systemized, it goes into operations, and the operations department handles it after that. Next thing we need to be fully concerned with and understand and know is the project life cycles. In parentheses next to project life cycles, put different phases. A project life cycle refers to a series of phases, PHASES, that a project goes through from its initiation to its closure. Project life cycles are either predictive, PREDICTIVE, or adaptive, ADAPTIVE, and it may be sequential, iterative, or overlapping. Within a project life cycle, there's typically a development life cycle that contains phases that encompass the development of a product or service. Highlight that whole paragraph yellow. All right, and development life cycles can be predictive. So the predictive life cycle is what we're learning. This is waterfall, this is the predictive life cycle. But there's also iterative, incremental, adaptive, or a hybrid of these. The project management team determines which life cycle to use for a project. And at the end of the sentence, I want you to put and project governance or project controls. So the project life cycle determines which would be used for the project. That would also include the project governance, GOVERNANCE, or project controls. You have the predictive life cycle, in parentheses on top of that, put waterfall. Don't go chase. All right, so the traditional sequential approach, where key aspects of the project, such as scope, schedule, and cost, are determined in the initial phases of the project life cycle. Any changes to the project's baseline are managed systematically. Predictive life cycles are also known as waterfall, WATERFALL, life cycles. All right, so highlight the whole paragraph yellow. This is a flashcard. So I want you to put an F next to that. You're going to make a flashcard with that definition for predictive life cycle. This is the main reason for taking the PMP waterfall. Another type of life cycle in reference to project management is the iterative. The product, and I want you to circle the word product, P-R-O-D-U-C-T, increments and functionality are developed through repeated cycles. Feedback on work in process is used to improve, I-M-P-R-O-V-E, the product. And circle the word product. Notice it says product, product, product. So the intangible, you can see, feel, see, touch. Highlight in yellow the three words, iterative life cycle, iterative life cycle, incremental life cycle. Highlight those three words, yellow, incremental life cycle. The deliverable is developed through iterations that keep adding to product functionality within a predetermined time frame. The deliverable is complete after the final iteration. Highlighted in yellow, the adaptive, agile life cycles. The increments of scope, S-C-O-P-E, are detailed and approved before the start of an iteration. Agile life cycles are both iterative and incremental. And then the next is the hybrid life cycle. Highlight those three words, yellow. The predictive and adaptive life cycles are combined together. Elements of the project have fixed requirements, follow a predictive life cycle, which elements that are still evolving follow an adaptive, agile life cycle. All right, and highlight the hybrid life cycle yellow as well. The one that you will be studying, the one that we are preparing for in terms of passing the PMP exam, this would be the predictive waterfall. So highlight that green and circle it. All right, I have 9:30 and I am going to give you guys, I want you all to review what we've already covered so far. We're going to pick up in the morning at 8 a.m. On finishing out introduction and then moving through the rest of the material. All righty, so I will see you all in the morning and I'll send a new link because the time isn't starting the same. Zoom is not playing fair. Zoom is like, look, it's not starting the same time every day. We don't need to be doing it. So I need to create a new link for this Saturday and next Saturday. And then I'll do a different link for the 2 Sundays. All right, you guys have a good night.
Have a good night.
Well, see you at 8 a.m.
All right.
Good night.
All righty.
Good night.